What is up, everybody? Welcome to the NFL Pre-Lock Show. Thursday Night Football, getting your football weekend started here on Thursday night with a little rivalry game close to my heart. Dallas and the Giants kicking it off, so should be a fun one. We got Dallas. Actually, I'm surprised they're this big of a favorite on the road like this after a couple of weeks here of what they showed the last couple of weeks, and the Giants looking actually pretty competent, at least last week. So that's where we're at. But always on this show, joined by John Breslin, a.k.a. SquirrelPatrol. John, you ready to get the week started off with a bang?
Yeah, absolutely. So a little NFC East showdown, and it's big. It's a big game. Like, these teams are both 1-2. So one of these teams is going to fall to 1-3. We think it's going to be the Giants, but we'll see. It may be a little bit of a surprise that the Cowboys are coming in at 1-2 in the first place. So it's interesting. I actually thought the opposite. I was kind of surprised that Dallas is only like a 5.5 point favorite. And I was actually going like, I don't know. Like, I kind of feels like a trap, right? It seems so obvious that the Cowboys, I could see a Cowboys close win, or I could see a Cowboys like wrong. But it's hard to see, the Giant. I don't think the Giants are maybe as good as they've even seemed, and they haven't seemed that good. Like, they're only averaging 15 points per game. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see how the game plays out.
Maybe I'm just blinded by being a Cowboys fan and expecting the worst. So maybe I got it bad. But I'm also looking at the Giants and like, they got a good one with Malik Neighbors. They got a good one in the draft. So he's a handful. That's a big deal. I don't know. I just don't see it from the Cowboys. Can't run the ball. Same thing, same system as last year. Everybody's kind of has a good game plan for it now, and what they're going to do to CeeDee Lamb to not let him get wide ass open every time. And I don't know. I feel like changes need to be made, but that's just me. That's another story. We're here for the DFS portion of it. Brian, the 2-week rule. Yeah, I think the 2-week rule is enough. I mean, I took the Cowboys. I talk all that trash, and then I still took the Cowboys on all my teasers and bets and all that good stuff. So I don't know. My head's spinning. I don't know what's going on, but we're going to break this thing down here. The questions, please get them in. We'd love to answer questions. Anything you got would be very nice. We'll answer them all. About 31 minutes till this thing locks up and we kick off. So, yeah, rock it sauce. Yeah, we appreciate that. We had a good week on Monday night with some props. Getting off to a good start there. That helps. Always helps. When you tank DFS, but you look and you go, oh, shit, I hit a little 3-team player prop parlay. That's good stuff. So we got that. So get those questions. We'll get them in. John, what's your overall thoughts on this thing as it lays out the grand scheme of this game and as it pertains to DFS?
Yeah. So I think there's like 3 main players that we want, right? Like, we want CeeDee Lamb, we want Malik Neighbors, we want Dak Prescott. It's tough to fit them all into a lineup that makes sense and still have money left over. And then if you do, that's probably like a cash game lineup. Like, there's only a certain number of lineups, like they could fit all 3 of them and still make sense. Especially if you're using one of them as a captain. So my thing is, I think I want to be over the field on like the other captains. Or if I'm using like CeeDee Lamb, Malik Neighbors, or Dak Prescott as a captain, like I want to be pretty creative, like having a lineup that's a little bit out there, like the 500,000 solo. I'm like looking down the price list at other guys, and then like there's Daniel Jones, maybe a little bit underrated for like DFS scoring, but also just could put up a complete dud. So I don't mind Daniel Jones, but I'm like looking further down the price list at guys like Rico Dowdle, Jalen Tolbert, some of the other Giants wide receivers, maybe Darius Slayton, guy that was just not added, but was questionable coming into the game. So it's a tricky one, but it should be a good game. Like, we got like 3 big names up there. It's surprising how often when you have like a some teams matching up that had like big names like this, and you've got multiple players that are in like a $10,000 price range, how often it's like a $5,000 captain that ends up being the guy you need to have to fit them all.
Yeah, you mentioned some guys questionable coming into the game. Just taking a glance at the inactive report, there's nothing really there. There's definitely no skill players that we're really worried about. There's a couple of defenders that get some snaps on both sides of the ball that are going to be inactive tonight, but I don't think it really moves the needle enough. So let's just get to some questions here, and we got a lot of good ones already so far. Yes, Mr. Jenkins, we will do the fill it in your plums play of the day. Let's take about 15 minutes from now. Let's go at the 15-minute mark. We'll give that away. Okay, our FanDuel questions here. FanDuel, GPP, large field, favorite, MVP, and then tack on with the low-owned flex.
So the thing, it's FanDuel. There's no multiplier. So, you kind of have to decide like how risky do you want to be, but if you start getting too risky, you really start to lower your chances of winning. Like I wouldn't go. For MVP, I probably wouldn't drop down below the top 4 guys like Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, Daniel Jones, Malik Neighbors. Like the chances of somebody like I guess if you really want to get creative, you could go with like Singletary or Rico Dowdle maybe. Super large field. This is going to sound like crazy. I might go Rico Dowdle. Like if you really want to win some money and try to win like the solo first place prize. So Dowdle is really underpriced on FanDuel. And if you put him in the MVP spot, he's going to be on a lot of rosters because people are going to see he's only 8,000. But if you put him in the MVP spot, like it's feasible. But you've got a pretty good shot there of not cashing. But if you do cash, like if you do like win the first place prize, it'll be solo.
Yeah, the problem with Dowdle is that like I don't even mind him on DraftKings because of the salary thing and the multiplier and the captain / MVP thing and how it's different. But man, on FanDuel also, you really want touchdowns. We don't even know if this guy gets the ball inside the 5-yard line. They kind of like give it to Zeke, and that kind of throws everything. But I'm with you. I really think he has a good game. I think he has a good yardage game. I would say that his yardage prop for rushing yards, I actually took the over in one of the player parlays. I do like it. Goal line work worries me because they like giving it to Zeke, and he's very effective at that. So, but I'm with you as far as what you said at first. Like, I can't get away from Dak myself over there on FanDuel. It's just the way the game lays out. This is a different style of looking game than every game's different, but like what was it last Thursday? I want to say we had the Jets maybe last Thursday. Jets Patriots was last Thursday's game or something like that. Like that's a different game, right? You can go Breece Hall. Maybe it's Gary Wilson. Maybe it is Aaron Rodgers, and we don't even like Aaron Rodgers that much, or whatever. You could talk yourself into a lot of different things. This feels like on FanDuel, how are you going to get away from Dak? Like it's tough, man. So I think I'm with you there. You eat the chalk there, and you go with and you try to get low owned in that flex somewhere. So that's a tough one. Jerry asks Ferguson as a captain.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. So I was looking back at like the last big primetime game the Cowboys had. It was their playoff loss against the Packers. And that was a game Jake Ferguson went absolutely nuts in the last. I think it was like the last few minutes. But he ended up with 3 touchdowns, I think 10 receptions. Like that's the mid-price range that I'm kind of looking for, right? Because then if you're multiplying that 7,000 or whatever his salary is instead of like the 11,000 that CeeDee Lamb is, like you do a lot more salary to work with. And like so, if Ferguson has another one of these big games, then like yeah, he could easily be the winning captain at like a lower raw score than CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, agree with that. Let's see here. Okay, here's one for you, or not. This is not for you, but in general, if we hit a certain amount of likes, will we give our favorite props tonight? Yeah, I have no problem with that at all. I'll probably give them anyway. But let's get to 100. Let's start off with 100. I don't know what our like situation here is on Thursday. Typically, let's say 100 likes, and we'll try to hit another piece together something in the player prop market for you. I had my eye on a couple already. So Jeff says, I like Tolbert over Cooks, but very interested in your thoughts. I actually think that is a very extremely valid question tonight, Squirrel.
Yeah, I like it. As actually, starting to like dabble in like the pick six kind of stuff a little bit. And I think that's a great like kind of pick six you can put together where maybe you go like Tolbert over Brandon Cooks under with just the whole narrative that he's like taking over the role. Like, and maybe you do the same thing with like Rico Dowdle a little bit and Ezekiel Elliott, something like that. You're going over Dowdle rushing yards under Ezekiel Elliott rushing yards. So yeah, and it looks like he's taken over. I did like one big money like best ball team, and Jalen Tolbert was my last pick. It's looking really good. I got Dak on the team too, so hopefully that continues to go well for me. And I might be a little bit biased, but yeah, I do like Jalen Tolbert over Brandon Cooks.
I mean, I don't hate it. I think Cooks to this point, he looks like he may have lost a step. I don't know. I don't want to, I don't want to do that to him, but it looks like he may have lost a step, and Tolbert's not half bad. So yeah, I think 100 likes is very doable, guys. So if you can get to 100 likes, we'll stop what we're doing at that point, and we'll give you some props that we like tonight. Who is kicking for the New York Giants? We're showing Greg Joseph as the kicker unless anything crazy's happened. So Greg Joseph. Lip says, give me all the Rico captain. I don't hate Rico and captain. It's just tough to get to him in MVP on FanDuel for me, but I understand it. But I think there's a chance I think there's a chance they try to do a little more running tonight, but we'll see how that plays out. Dallas defense is going to turn up. Boy, they need to after these last 2 weeks. I got a feeling they're going to be pretty angry tonight and figure some stuff out. Let's see here. Danny Dimes has 8 red zone rushes this year for 0 touchdowns. Okay, Lip, that's a good stat. That's variance. We can get back to that and maybe that swing some things. Here's Butthole says, typically this is a hard no, but he says Aubrey at captain. Aubrey might be the exception to the rule in Showdown for a captain, but I mean, I still wouldn't do it. But what do you think?
Let me see if I've got any. I've got a little bit. I've got a little bit, but I probably shouldn't. I feel like he kicks better at home, right? Like I don't know, like the Cowboy Stadium is indoors.
I think it's kind of like more to do with. I think it's turf out there, and that plus I haven't checked the weather, but if he's got any, like if it's no weather, then I don't think it's a problem. If there's a little bit at his back, man, he could kick a 70-yarder, man. He could break the slate with a kicking, right? Like they get to the 50-yard line and they're within his range almost. It's pretty bizarre, but so we don't get
that 6th and 7th point, right? I think we just get the 5.
I don't know.
Update that scoring.
Yeah. So you have a little, but you wouldn't like.
I wouldn't go nuts.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with that. Dan Ryan says, what are your thoughts on Singletary tonight? He's the workhorse, right? What do you think about Singletary?
I like Singletary. I think like the Cowboys rushing defense hasn't looked good. So, and he does seem like the primary back. Like they drafted Tyrone Tracy, right? And there was some thought, no, maybe it's a split backfield. It doesn't look like a split backfield as of right now. So he's the primary guy. Like he's the primary running back on a home team. So I like Singletary. I think he's going to get a little bit like overlooked too, like it's kind of lost in the shuffle. I think there's so many other big names. People are going to go to like Neighbors, CeeDee Lamb, Dak. They're going to go to Daniel Jones before they get to Singletary. You could easily like, have a multi-touchdown game at pretty low ownership. So I like Singletary.
King of Smack says Zeke will score a touchdown tonight. I absolutely wouldn't doubt it. I think they like using him inside the 5-yard line, and maybe they just about where they fall in the red zone. Is it inside the 5? Is it inside the 10? But I think that's very doable. Okay, here's a strategic question. I think it's kind of interesting. How much cash to leave on FanDuel? Now, I said I like Dak in the MVP spot. If you're playing Dak in the MVP, most people are then going to run it with CeeDee Lamb, and start using up more and more salary. Then you're going to want to get like either Neighbors or Daniel Jones in there maybe. So anyway, they're going to end up spending a lot of money. By running Dak in the big spot, they're going to end up spending money. Most people are. I kind of think maybe we don't play CD. Now I don't want to, make no assumptions of what he did in the offseason, but to me, he looks a little chubby for as much as a guy in that good a shape can look. He looks a little chubby, a little slow. As a Cowboy fan, I'd like to see him work. So I think Dak in the MVP. Let's say we set our. I don't know what you think, how much cash you would feel comfortable leaving, but if you go in the lineup HQ and you set Dak in the MVP and leave 1,500, $2,000 on the table, man, you're going to be different with those Dak lineups.
Yeah, and if you don't have Dak as the MVP, I think you can use more of the salary. But I like that idea. Like I do that a lot. Like I'll run a line separately with like different settings, just so I'll plug in like lock in Dak as MVP, and then set the salary slider down like 1,500 sounds like a good amount, maybe 2,000 if you want to be a little more risky, and just run however many Dak MVP lineups you want to have, and then then just run the rest of your lineup. So you can set the salary slider up, 59, 500 or whatever, 60,000 if you want to do that. And then just run all and like remove Dak as the MVP and then just run the rest of your lineups, however many lineups you want to have.
Yeah. So to answer your question, around 1,500 seems like a pretty good amount to leave on the table and get a little different. Seems like Singletary has a case of the fumbleitis, so Dallas will key on him. Do you think Tracy will have a good game? I don't think it's going to affect him very much. I think he'll get all the run he can handle. I mean, he's their workhorse back. I think they'll ride Singletary now to the end. Rico over 9.5 rushing attempts is Lip's favorite prop. I don't hate it. There's one or two things that are going to happen with the Cowboys. Dak's either going to have a big game, and he's going to be very angry at what's happening these last 2 weeks, or they're going to make it a point to establish the run. And Dowdle will get those 9.5 carries, so I don't mind that. Alan asks, Daniel Jones or Neighbors in the flex?
I mean, I'd go Neighbors if you can afford it. I'd probably just go Neighbors. Maybe want to know like what the rest of the lineup is, but like just without any other information, I'd probably say Neighbors.
Let's see. Tolbert or Slayton on FanDuel? Touchdown heavy. Tolbert or Slayton?
I'd go Tolbert. Because it's the favorite team. So I'd go Tolbert. I think it'll be lower owned. It's tough. Slayton was questionable, but still a favorite team. Maybe an emerging role kind of thing. I'd go
Tolbert. Zawayat. Sorry, mispronounced your name. Any worthwhile $200 guys on DraftKings?
Don't think so. Trying to see like who's the cheapest guy. Yeah. I think Jalen Hyatt is like as cheap as I would go, and he's 600. I mean, so yeah,
$200 is almost like couldn't like. I don't even know how those guys even see the field that much. Yeah, but I'll tell you what, like you mentioned Hyatt at 600. And he's not being projected for anything, but at 800, Hunter Lipke to me could be a touchdown scorer tonight. I think he could score a touchdown. I think one of the paths that the Cowboys could go down is to get him a little bit more playing time here. Just my opinion, just a total random thought, but he looks really effective when he's out there. And they're struggling to get the things going. So I think there's a chance maybe he's somewhat of a catalyst and he catches a couple passes. That pays off the tag right there. If he gets in the end zone, you're on a free roll with that kind of salary, man. So see how that plays out. I don't agree with that one. This could be a CD 3 touchdown night. It very well could be the squeaky wheel thing. There was a lot of bad body language last game. Any defenses tonight? Chris Longo asked. So what about defenses tonight?
I think they're in play as much as they always are. I just try to be careful if you're using a defense, like try to make a lineup that makes sense. Like don't use the opposing kicker, tend not to use the opposing quarterback. I think the defenses are in place as much as any other time.
Cool. All right, I'm going to stop right there on the questions. Because I want to give everybody enough time. So 15 minutes left till lock. Let's do our Plums play of the night and see if we can't hit something good for the people tonight. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Squirrel, for your fill it in the Plums play of the night.
Yeah, so a guy I've mentioned already a couple times is Jalen Tolbert. I'm trying to remain unbiased because of my best ball team, but I do like him. It is like an emerging role. I think he's got like the salary range that I'm looking for. He doesn't have to go berserk. Like CeeDee Lamb could have 2 touchdowns, Tolbert could have 1, and Tolbert is the winning captain. Is the captain of the winning lineup, because putting Tolbert in as captain gets you like, a combination of like Dak and Daniel Jones or Dak and Neighbors or whatever in the rest of your lineup, without having to drop down to the $200 guys. So yeah, feeling it in the Plums, Jalen Tolbert.
Sounds good. All right, listen, I hate to do this because it's low hanging fruit and all that good stuff, but I don't want to lead the people with too big of a like Hunter Lepke. Oh, I like him, but I can't do that. Fill it in the Plums. That's just too much of a stretch. And the mid-range guys, I just don't really feel tonight. My favorite guy is Dak Prescott. I feel like he has this monster game tonight, getting back on track. The only thing I would tell you that maybe to change it up and for it to be not such low-hanging fruit, maybe it's not CeeDee Lamb that you pair him with. Maybe it's one of these other guys. Maybe it is a Ferguson or a Tolbert. Badmouth Cooks, but he's very capable of a nice game. Any of that stuff, checking it down to Zeke or Dowdle caught some passes last week. So, but it's Dak is my fill-in the Plums play, and I think he has a monster game. I'm not really sure who to pair him with. So we're up to several likes here, guys, but we're still a little ways to go for the 100. So let's get 100 likes in the next like 4 or 5 minutes, so we'll give you time to get some player props in if you want to. Back to some questions. Brian wants to ask you, in GPPs on DraftKings, 2 versus 2, Jalen Tolbert and Tyrone Tracy, or Wan'Dale Robinson and Turpin. So backup running back with Tolbert or Wan'Dale and Turpin.
I'd go Tolbert and Tracy, because there is a chance, right, that Tracy's role is expanding a little bit. And you'd maybe expect that if it's going to happen as the season goes on. Wan'Dale Robinson just is tournaments, he's just one of those guys, just constantly catches like a handful of receptions around the line of scrimmage and never finds the end zone. So yeah, tournaments, I think you want to go for that upside and go for Tolbert and Tracy. Tolbert could get a long touchdown. Maybe Tracy comes in and gets a lot more run than we're expecting. So I'd go that route. Yeah,
I think that's the upside play. The other one, I honestly think the Wan'Dale and Turpin is probably safe-ish, if you want to call it that, but the upside is extremely limited, it feels like. All right, Derek asks, a question for DK GPPs. Neighbors is in his captain spot with Hyatt, 3 pass catchers with Jones. Or, so you have Neighbors captain, Hyatt, 3 pass catchers with Jones. Or Robinson in the captain spot with Joseph.
I'd probably go Robinson and captain. I know I just bad math them, but I think if you have that lineup where you have Neighbors in the captain and 3 giant pass catchers, Daniel Jones is probably the captain. I don't know if that lineup can happen. So I like the idea. Maybe it's just not that high scoring of a game. Maybe Wan'Dale gets 8 receptions or finds his way into the end zone, and Greg Joseph is a perfectly fine kicker to have in your lineup. So yeah, I'd probably do that one.
I don't mind any hope for Zeke. I think on FanDuel there's hope that that they fall inside the 5-yard line a couple of times and he's the touchdown guy. That's about it. But do you have any hope for him on DraftKings?
Yeah. So there is a flip side. So I think Rico Dowdle is the guy that's going to be getting more work. We don't know, because that last game against Baltimore, Dak threw it 51 times. I think they were down going into the fourth quarter 28-6. So maybe Dowdle's just the pass catching back, and and Ezekiel, is where this game's going to start, and Elliott's going to just be on the field first 3 quarters, as long as, and maybe into the fourth quarter, right? If Dallas is ahead, it's maybe it is actually a big Ezekiel Elliott game. I do think there's hope for him. I'm doing a bunch of lineups. If I had to choose one, I'm taking Rico Dowdle, and especially on FanDuel. On FanDuel, I think Elliott's 11,000, Dowdle's 8,000. You got to go with Dowdle. But on DraftKings, I don't know. Maybe it is just an Ezekiel Elliott game where Dallas is controlling most of the game.
Fair enough. TJ, give me our like count currently and see if we're close enough to have some activity there. In the meantime, Dowdle or Tolbert?
On DraftKings?
He didn't mention, but let's say DraftKings. What the hell?
I'd definitely go with Dowdle. I mean, yeah, he's only 600 more, so I'd go with Dowdle.
Jim asked, the lowest he wants to go is a kicker from the Giants. What are your thoughts? Is there anybody lower than the kicker from the Giants that you feel fairly decent about?
I mean, there's the defenses. Actually, like Darius Slayton, I think is an interesting play because he's only 3,200. So that's like $1,200 savings off of Greg Joseph. I mean, it's not inconceivable at all. Like if Darius Slayton gets a touchdown, he's probably outscoring Greg Joseph, right? Like that's going to be probably 7-8 points right there. So yeah, I like Darius Slayton probably more than Greg Joseph for the price.
All right. I mean, a minute ago, TJ says we're at 69 likes. That's not 100, but that's still a pretty good number. Let's go ahead and give up some player props. You have a player prop or a parlay of some sort. You feeling pretty good about tonight?
Yeah. So I'd mentioned like the Jalen Tolbert over over yards and going like Brandon Cooks under yards, kind of like that. Let's see. Maybe we can find like if you can find like a Kavonte. I'm looking like Kavonte Perkins over 6.5 receiving yards. I think that's like I think that's a fun one that can hit, right? Like he's the guy that I'd like to get in there. Or if you can maybe find like over a half reception, something like that. They like to get him his looks every once in a while. So I don't mind that at all.
Yeah, I'll give you a two-teamer that I like, that I've played myself, which I've already mentioned Dak a lot of times. I just feel like this is the Dak. This is a big Dak game to get back on track. So I got his over in yardage, although I also like the over 1.5 touchdown passes, but the yardage would be my preferred play just in case they fall down and Zeke gets in there and we have that big. So over on Dak's yardage, and I would run it back. I don't like to pair him with somebody because it's tough for me tonight to pick one guy. So I like to run it back with Singletary over, I think it was when I got it, 16.5 receiving yards. I think it makes for a pretty decent game script. They play off of each other pretty good. They've been getting him more involved in the passing game, Singletary that is. And Dallas can give up those. I don't think they get completely stomped in the running game tonight. I think they make it a point to shut down the run. But when they do that, they can be susceptible to flares out of the backfield. So let's go Singletary over the receiving yards along with Dak over the passing yards. So there's your player props. We've got about 7 minutes. We're going to answer some more questions here. Cook's first touchdown score plus 1,400. What do you think, and who would be your bet to score the first touchdown if you had to?
I don't know if I like Cooks. Probably go somebody else.
He's done it once. He did it in the opening weekend. He was the first touchdown scorer. You just never know, right? That's I don't even mess with first touch. Like if I'm going to do a touchdown, I just do anytime touchdown. First touchdown's so tough, man.
Let's see. First touchdown, I might go like Devin Singletary, 600.
Yeah. So if I was going to do it, and I don't do these, but if I was going to do it, I'd go work from it backwards. Who's going to score first touchdown? Dallas. Okay. So I'd pick somebody from Dallas. How are they going to do it? My guess would be probably through the air, but what if it's a pass interference or, something like that, and we get down inside the 5 and it's going to be Zeke. You got the big odds on Zeke. I'd go Zeke or something like that just to be a little bit different. Let's see here. Tyrone Tracy or Theo Johnson on FanDuel?
Probably good Theo. He's probably going to get a touchdown.
Theo?
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, well, there's your anytime
not
touchdown.
Tonight. I mean, like at some point. Sorry. He's probably. I should have.
Probably got to be some good odds on that
at some point, and it could be tonight. He is like the tight end, right? Like it's a showdown. So
on FanDuel, are there any must-haves? Like, is anybody at their salary totally like I got to put him on the lineup?
I think the guy that's like FanDuel specific is Rico Dowdle at 8,000, like 3,000 cheaper than Ezekiel Elliott.
Tom asks, Dallas had no answer against the run the last week, actually the last couple of weeks. So what do you think about both Giants running backs in a lineup? I would answer that and say, no, not even close. I wouldn't even think about that. It's not first of all, it's not the same. Giants are not the same running team as the Saints and the Ravens. Those teams are built way different. Giants aren't like that. And then the Giants are just not going to like pound both these guys enough to make them pay off. Or maybe you like it different. I don't know.
No. I set the rule. I don't like running backs on the same team tonight. It's just not that kind of game. They're not that kind of offenses. Like these are offenses that want to feature like CeeDee Lamb and Malik Neighbors. They don't want to just be running the ball constantly. Like they'll run it, but not so much that both running backs get on.
And that leads to a question from Jar Dog, which is a pretty good 1v1, flat out. CD or Neighbors, both extremely talented. What do you think in the captain spot?
I mean, so it's going to like depend on the rest of your lineup. Like I'd probably go Neighbors. Like I said, I think the savings means something. I think Neighbors actually could get a little bit lost. Like I think people are going to be going to CeeDee Lamb more than the Neighbors. I looked at the player, like did a player prop comparison in my article. It's pretty close. So like I would go like statistically, I think it's pretty close, and you're getting less ownership and more savings with Neighbors.
Let's see here. DraftKings, the Cowboys defense in flex or one of the kickers or the Cowboys kicker in flex. Which one do you prefer tonight?
Cowboys kicker.
The kicker. Interesting. DK GPP in a no quarterback lineup. Is it okay to play 3 Giants wide receivers or should he scrap that and go with a double kicker?
I'd go double kicker. Like double kicker hits sometimes. Like it's not my favorite, but I don't like the idea of like three pass catchers without
Is John or Lepke in the flex on DK? Mardon, friend of the program. I mean, I might be way off, man. I just feel like Lepke's gonna feel like it's kind of trending good for him. I don't know. They're just maybe if there's some sort of sense of urgency and they want to get a good playmaker involved, I feel like they may get him involved tonight. So I kind of like him in the flex, but I didn't go overboard with it, but I'm certainly going to be over the field on that one. First touchdown, CD or Singletary. I mean, we've kind of hit on that stuff. He likes Singletary. I kind of like Zeke, but yeah, it is. I just that kind of stuff is just flukish. I want anytime touchdown. Give me anytime touchdown. DK GPPs, Dowdle and Dak or Aubrey and Lamb?
DK, Dowdle and Dak or Lamb and
kicker, Aubrey.
I go Dowdle and Dak.
All right. Yeah. Let's see. All right. I think that's it, man. I think we ran through some questions. I don't see any more fresh ones here. So, guys, we appreciate you. You got your Plums player of the night. You got you some player props. John, you got anything before we get out of here for the game?
No, enjoy the game. This will shape the NFC East a little bit, so it'll be good.
Yep. Going to be a fun night. We appreciate you tuning in, guys. We're going to be back on Monday for another show. Until then, that was Squirrel Patrol. I was your host, Chop. Good luck in those GPPs, and we're out of here.